The first 3 weeks of the eruption here in Hawaii, crazy things would happen in the middle of the night. A new fissure would open up and it would threaten a new neighborhood. Thousands of people were evacuated from their homes. I started the Hawaii Tracker Facebook group to help people understand what's going on and get their questions answered.
Hey, how's it going? We're live. This is Fissure 20.
We had hundreds of people all throughout the neighborhoods sending in videos, articles, and images. We spent a lot of time making sure the accurate information gets out.
This is live. Still lava moving.
They weren't just sharing a story, they were helping their neighbor. If a family was being evacuated, my group would just jump in and help out. It was huge. They were watching out for each other.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you for the support from everybody.
As we go through this, we're growing closer together as a community. When tragedies like this strike, you really realize how much you need each other.
We are the Hawaiian Volcano Education and Resilience Institute, HVERI for short. A lot of people know us from the 2018 eruption of Kīlauea in the Lower East Rift Zone. Working under Hawaii Tracker on the Facebook group. Since then, we've been trying to carry on and take the lessons, the hard lessons that were learned during that eruption and try and prepare for the next major disaster that comes to our island.
Yeah, so we do that through two different programs. One is volcano education, and the other part is digital resilience, which we address through online groups on social media. So the way the two programs work together is that the social media networks end up being a distribution pathway for all the information. And having that network in place means we can provide more than just volcano education, but any other preparedness information as well.
What we were working for really came about in the Maunaloa eruption in 2022. Within hours of that eruption starting, we had the mayor, Mitch Roth, we had USGS-HVO Ken Hahn on the stream trying to help flush out a little bit of the ongoing because it's so new. It's completely different from our previous major eruption, which was 2018.
One of the things that Talmadge and I were talking about was how do we deal with social media? It was something we needed to figure out and get right. Our job is to get information to the public and make sure that the public get it as well as possible and as correctly as possible. When Philip and Dan started coming to and live streaming the meetings, it was great because we were reaching more people than we normally would. So when the eruption actually happened, we had this relationship. The interviews we did during the eruption, the most fun ones were the ones with Philip and Dave because they were more relaxed and we knew we were getting to the local community and people were asking questions. So those were the best, I think. I just want to really give a shout out to those guys and how we worked as a team on this eruption. It really worked out well and we got to a lot of people we wouldn't have normally got.
Aloha everyone, and welcome to our Hawaiian Volcano Tracker. Today's Thursday, September 11th, 2025. And I'm here joined by Lou Ettore today. We're missing Dane and our ASL interpreters who are here with us in spirit as always. But we'll carry on as usual, recap a little bit more of episode 32 and see what's on the horizon here. How you doing today, Lou? How's your week been?
Good. It was good. So it was busy. We were good. We three of us were with our volunteers were busy at science night for the kids last night at elementary school, and it's raining like cats and dogs. So I guess in our world as well, when it rains, it pours. We're busy around here.
Certainly a lot going on, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the volcano, but all around our community.
Mm-hmm.
Great to be active in it, but yeah, keeping us on our toes for sure. All right, so let's move through here. Let's get ourselves ready for our volcano summary. Anything else you know add here, Lou, before we get into it?
Yep, I'll be grabbing questions in the background in the chat. Go ahead and put it in there. I'll try to get them to fill somewhere during the stream, and make sure you hit that thumbs up. Let's roll it.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Lou. All right. Aloha, everyone. This is our Hawaiian Volcano Summary for September 11th, 2025. It's now been 9 days since the end of episode 32. And USGS scientists expect episode 33 in another 8 to 10 days from today based on current monitoring data. You see here the thermal camera from the USGS showing the outpouring of lava during episode 32, and not much else happening in the 9 days since. This gives us a chance to pause and look at the overall filling of the summit caldera, which is now infilled by over 200 feet and covered the downdrop block of the 2018 collapse. And if we look at the ground tilt monitor for the last 3 months, we can see that episode 32 had a larger drop than many of the other previous episodes, one that accompanied the third largest outpouring of lava thus far during this eruption that's lasted 8.5 months. Following that, we've had a little slower than average recovery rate here, which is leading to this extended pause between episodes 32 and our expected 33. So the USGS notice from today and daily update says that models suggest episode 33 is likely to begin between September 19th and 22nd. But it could start later if the rate of inflation continues to decrease as it has over the past few days. In between the episodes, we continue to have sulfur dioxide emissions as shown by the satellite capture. And those can be blown around by our dominant winds. And this past week, we had Hurricane and Tropical Storm Kiko passing to our north, which made for some variable winds locally here. As it is, the winds are dispersing mostly to the southwest, to the South Hawaii and South Kona area. And current conditions on a purple air monitoring network show raised but not concerning levels of particulates in that South Kona area, although many of these sites have shown spikes in particulate matter at some point over the last 24 to 48 hours. Over the past week, earthquakes have been back to normal rates. So we have a restoration of earthquakes in the South Flank area, which had been a little slower than normal and now are back to normal, as well as an increase in earthquakes back to normal levels as well underneath the caldera, accompanying the recharge of magma under the summit ahead of episode 33. We also have in blue, these earthquakes are plotted by depth here. So the ones in blue are the deep ones. So we also have in blue deep under the east side of the island, magnitude 3.6 earthquake. Was an adjustment of the entire weight of the island and nothing to do with the volcano. Such that over the last year, our earthquakes per week counts have been fairly steady ever since the eruption began in late December 2024. Looking at our GPS, the distance across the caldera north and south continues to expand and contract with every episode, like an accordion. So here you can see the most recent contraction and the expansion that's recovered about half, a little more than half of its distance since the last episode ended. This is contained to the summit region, though. Here is a plot of distance across the Middle East Rift Zone by Pu'o'o, showing continued decrease in that distance over time. And so no magma entering that part of the rift zone and no increased threat to people in inhabited areas for now. And that's the update for Kīlauea. Quickly on Maunaloa, we have a monthly update out last week. We remain at alert level normal, aviation color code green. Earthquakes are approximately constant relative to last month. Although if we look at the earthquake rates over the last 5 years per month, we can see there's been a slight increase in those values. And nothing like what we saw ahead of the 2022 eruption, but very slowly ramping up the recovery from that eruption. Earthquakes per month across Maunaloa Summit are concentrating under the summit caldera, as well as both the eastern and western flanks. Whereas GPS distance markers continue to expand at a fairly high rate, with more recent values potentially being affected by the errors and noise that gets corrected after a few days here. But we are still seeing extension of caldera north and south of Mauna Loa, as well as a general upward rise of the ground at the same time. So magma continues to refill that volcano and pressurize it for its next eruption, whenever it may be. And that's our Hawaiian volcano summary for this week. So with that, Lou, we'll shift to our volcanic hazards as usual. That's our main concern here. Our mission is to improve preparedness to any eruption. And one of the major things that happens during these national park eruptions is the gas and tephra that comes out. So focusing on the gas, here's a cut from the V3 camera over the last week. Just the daytime views showing the winds mostly blowing right to left, but you can see several times when it does flip back around when we have those slack or variable winds with storms passing by. It's been there were a couple of days of really still wind and it was really humid and sticky up here. I don't know about down where you are, Lou, but yeah. So you can see a little bit of that here. I'll play it one more time so you can see a couple more shifts than we normally see.
Notice the gas turned blue over there on that north vent.
Yeah, it does look a little blue. Yeah. I'm hearing a buzzing when your mic hits in here. Maybe you want to check out your connection here. Seems like it cut off now, but yeah. Came and went. So yeah, there's the V3 camera. Oh, there's something again. All right, so there's a K2 camera. This is the one that's in the tower. Or on that tower that still remains up above the viewing area down here at Uekahuna. And so normally we have trade winds blowing that way. But you can see once again the winds blowing the wind off in this direction or towards the camera in this corner when we have those variable winds as well. And from further afield on the side of Mauna Loa, this is the KP camera. Ends here. It's been kind of cloudy and rainy recently, so it ends in a little bit of fog. But there you see that low-level gas coming out in between our episodes. Flips back a couple of times in that direction. Sometimes goes higher up and then disperses, but mostly sees dispersing from left to right into the Ka'u Desert in that closest area of the national park that's closed, and beyond that where it's not as dangerous as well. So even with those intermittent emission rates, it can be pretty dangerous for people who especially those who have sensitivities to respiratory issues. So we continue to cover this with the help of VMAP, the VOG Measurement and Prediction Project from Manoa. And they have all these different links you can use, and we often summarize things through the VOG dashboard, the forecast dashboard here. So we can see there's our emission source in Kīlauea volcano. Most of our winds are blowing down, but wrapping around a little bit as well. This is our pure SO2 flavor of the gas. And if you have heard us before, we talk about how that can react with the water vapor and with the help of sunlight to create these SO4 particles as well. And so those can last longer and drift further away. So that's usually what you have more of an effect. And coincide is from the sulfate aerosols in particulate matter. And closer to the volcano, you have more of the SO2 itself. So a combination of both of those here is what really people are experiencing. And so there you can see the forecast for the next 24 hours or so. Looking at some interactive maps, this is the state of Hawaii's air quality data. everything's showing in a green here. And for example, we can click on ocean view and see it's remaining in green, but it's been a variable within the green for some of that time as well. Let's keep going. We can look at the Hawaii SO2 index, which shows everything in the green as well. Let's pick a different station. Let's pick one here in Pahala and see recent history. Still in the green, but got close there to the yellow at 50 around 10 a.m. today. But still everything within the green, variable values. Purple air, another one that we like to look at too. And these ones, let's hear us take a station from Volcano. Let's see if I can get that to look bigger on the screen here. This is a Namakani Paio campground. You can see actually there was a period of time here on Tuesday, 12:40 p.m. local time, where we were up at 317. So actually up into these reds. I'm not sure this is. There's supposed to be an orange in here and a red, maybe a purple as well. I'm not sure if the colors are quite right on the screen here. In any case, you can see there's that period of time when the wind brought the gas exactly right past that sensor, and before and after that, it's been fine. Right? But occasionally, you can be caught in the wrong place depending on the wind direction and the output level of the volcano there. All right, so continuing, let's look at the National Park Air Quality Alert. So here it's showing us, not available wind temperature, so it's not showing us any kind of cone. But everything in the green. Presently, we look at the charts for the last 24 hours, and we can see there's a couple of spots here at Kahuku. That's over on the southwest rift of Maunaloa. The SO2 value is spiking this morning as well. So it seems like that was when the wind was blowing that plume across the campground up to Kahuku. Similar time periods with more concentrated gas not getting dispersed. Otherwise in the green. Now to windy.com, our SO2 layer. Looking at the big picture here, we don't have nearly that as intense a concentration. It doesn't quite show it on here, but the remains of that tropical storm, previously Hurricane Kiko up here, that kind of skirted us in that direction a little bit and pulled some of our weather and was close enough to affect some of our weather. It's also reset our SO2 cloud over the islands here. So that's how it currently looks. And then we can also finally look at the Mounts project for our SO2 captures from the satellite. So back on a 3rd was the day after our previous episode. We had detected previously this big red cloud right above Kīlauea, and the next day this capture right here had blown off to the west. While we saw low-level emissions resume, just show my little gray pixels right in here. So that's what we're dealing with. Most of our inter-episode period here is that low-level stuff, and depending on how the satellite's flying, it may not actually scan it, or it picks up some of this background kind of purplish dots, or I'm not sure what happened here. It seems to not be scanning much of anything. But when it does pick things up, you can see it often picks up those pixels of low-level intermittent emissions here. And it's slightly different each day. So it's still coming out at about 1,500 tons per day or so. I can remind you guys that if you've never heard these numbers and they mean nothing to you, it's been a little while since I looked at these numbers. I want to say that one of the EPA fined factories in Ohio that was one of the largest polluting ones had somewhere in the range of 300 to 500 tons in a whole year that it put out, and that was enough to get it fined, right? So we're talking about 1,500 tons per day. So 3, 5, more than that times every single day that comes out of the volcano. This is in the in-between times when not as much is coming out. And so I just emphasize this to show that if someone nearby, your neighbor or yourself, is having adverse effects from the VOG, it's a real thing. There's a lot of gas coming out. If you were in a city, you would be going to the EPA to try to find your local factory, because that's how much stuff's coming out, way too much, right? So That's not how it works here, of course, but you have to protect yourself even in these in-between episode times from the gas. It's still the biggest hazard we have. So all that said, we'll move on from the gas, our biggest threat, to some of our monitoring data. Unless anything you want to add about the gas here, Lou?
No, just that you're on point that, sometimes we forget because we live here and we're not in it, and somebody new comes over, a tourist or a family member comes over and they're not from a city, it can hit you pretty hard. So different parts of the island definitely have higher effects. But when that wind changes, it gets us too. I mean, even I'm downhill from you a little bit, and my neighbors are a little bit older and sensitive to it. So I hear people struggling with it, and Anna and I aren't so bad with maybe sometimes some itchy eyes, but I know it hits people pretty hard. Got to be careful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, so especially if you're new, it's a great point there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll keep talking about the hazard. As long as this continues to be an eruption, right? That's the main hazard. Right now, being the gas, we'll keep at it and not let this go unnoticed for too long here. But all that said, let's come on to our monitoring signals, and we'll start with an actual text update from USGS today. That, as I said in our summary here, it doesn't really have much more than that. It says it's likely to begin between September 19th and 22nd. And that the rate of inflation has decreased over the past few days. That's mostly what you have here. We do have 25 microradians that was lost in total during this episode, of which about 14 have been recovered since. We are having patterns of tremor that indicate gas pistoning at depth, out of sight an event, with low frequency bursts every 3 to 8 minutes. So that's happening. We just talked about the SO2 emission rates during inter-episode pauses, typically 1,200 to 1,500 tons per day. And this is interesting as well. They're noting emission rates vary on shorter time scales also in association with gas pistoning. And so maybe on this 3 to 8 minute time scale, you might get a little bit more gas, a little bit less gas. And this is not something we've had the benefit of detecting very frequently, because mostly we're getting one measurement that's integrating all the gas coming out over some amount of time and some amount of area. So as equipment gets better, and hopefully they're testing out new equipment that allows them to see that and tell us this, they can then see the changes on a minute-to-minute basis, which is more exciting and can give you more use potentially, right? Because if you see, we've seen many of these big eruptions onset with a big cloud of gas. The gas starts coming out really fast first and heavy and thick, and the lava follows minutes afterwards. So if you could somehow detect that on a minute time scale, then you might have a way to give some kind of warning or an alarm of some kind, right? In any case, interesting little note here. That's something that's appeared in the last few weeks here that I have not pointed out before. So that's mostly what we have in here. We have a little bit of a discrepancy in the dates here under the analysis. Is probably copy and paste along with all the rest of the text in here from the previous days. There's nothing really else new in there. So I won't keep hashing this text update. I'll move on to the timeline page, which I think has been developed a little bit more. So I'm not sure we've shown this in its full present glory as it is today in early September. So this top part of the page looks pretty similar to before. This we showed last week. We now have a slider that shows the before and after of a crater filling from the B1 camera. And as I showed you guys in our summary, we have a video of this as well that we'll play a little later for you guys. But this is what you get for now, the before and after slider. And coming down further, there's a lot of text. I'm not going to read through all the text, but this is all good information written in text here about how this all works. If you don't have someone like myself explaining it to you, narrating as we go along here. Tilt since eruption started, that's the whole last 8.5 months, the overall pattern there. We've seen that. This is a new graph that's got put up recently, this 1 year laser rangefinder of the crater floor. So we'll look at this a little later as well, but quickly here, you can see we start off at somewhere around 400 and I'll call it 410 meters. And then we end somewhere around 400 and call it 75 meters or so. So 65 meters 210, 15 feet, somewhere in there. I'll have a calculator here, but that shows you at this one spot where the laser is pointing how much lava is accumulated. And you can, if you look more closely, you can see it's done it in steps, one episode at a time, and another episode, and another episode, and another episode, and another episode. And sensor went offline for some interval of time here when lava fell on the cable that connected it to its power source. But once it came back online, it can resume the trend here, and you can see it's been doing the same, more of the same here. So
that came online, Phil, when that came online when they installed the new KW and F1 cam, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they restored all the cameras and power sources there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we've seen this data before, but to see it plotted for the year-long time frame is something that popped up on this page here more recently. So cool to see that. We've seen this timeline before, right? So I have it zoomed way in because otherwise anyone trying to watch this on any kind of smaller screen like a phone has no chance of reading anything. So it looks really funky here at the top. But otherwise, you can see here the columns, the episode number, when it starts and ends, how long it lasted, how long it paused, fountain heights, and amount of lava erupted in million cubic meters. Right? So we've referred to this in the past before, especially to get these volumes and heights. So this is complete all the way through to 32 for now. We have latest eruption maps shown here, the summit maps, thermal map, and the thickness map. So let me show you, let's zoom in. Here's our most recent summit map with our pause vents here on the side. They're showing, actually, if I zoom in, the episode 30 fissure is shown here on a wall of the map as well. And we've seen some other little fissures opening up all within this region of what we'll just call a vent complex for now. Right? And here where you see this orange is what they're showing as vent spatter deposits. So a little bit thicker with the airfall, not just lava flows, but stuff falling out of the air, making the piles on the hills and those kind of landscapes. So that's over here on the side. And lava covering all the way across that inner crater of Hale-Ma'uma'u and lapping onto the down drop block here on the east side. So current maximum thickness, 80 meters, 262 feet. At an average elevation of 3,200 feet above sea level, or 970 meters roughly here, with volume of almost 40 billion gallons, almost 150 million cubic meters. Right, and this is through episode 31, so we've had 32 since then, added another 9 to this, so really 156 is the real number for volume here. So that's our map, and we can refer to some of our other recent maps. There is one that was showing us thickness of lava through episode 24 and coloring them with greens for thinnest and coming up through the yellows to the reds for the thickest, and showing us similar how it was thickest around these vent areas in the southwest and thinnest over on the east side. And since then, we've had not just lava flows thickening this, but lava actually falling aerially as tephra and spatter and building this spatter and tephra mound, or I'm not sure what you call it. This growing lava shield is what it's going to become here, or cone, depending on how much fountaining we have, right? So that one, and here at the bottom, in case you haven't seen this cross section of how this looked following. So in thin gray at the top before 2018 collapse, in black following the 2018 collapse. Water came and filled it up that much before it got boiled off by the first eruption, which filled that much lava, and then you can see all the successive lines filling in this ice cream cone that was easier to fill at the bottom where it was skinny. It takes more to fill at the top here. And at present depth sloped from west to east downhill, somewhere right in there. And finally, another recent map that's not on that homepage, but also here, the INSAR map, showing changes in satellite, as well as earthquakes and other fissures that open up. So we'll come back to this here in a minute. But for now, let me come back to the timeline page and finish recapping this. Besides these maps, the reason I'm coming down here is we have new sections on hazards, lava fountains on tephra fall, types of tephra here, like Pele's hair, the spatter, the reticulite. That's very vesicular here, in case you've never seen this. Let's get it zoomed in here on the screen. I had a doctor once come out on a volcano with me and tell me about the reticular structure of the cells in our lungs, maximum surface area for oxygen absorption. And it's another similar reticular structure here, but to maximum surface area, just to try to, as it's expanding and freezing in the middle of that froth there. But yeah, 98% airspace is this Hawaiian version of pumice.
That's interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it's so much airspace that he put it in water. It actually is so connected it will sink, unlike other pumices. Right? This makes it not really a pumice for most people, depending on how how picky you're being with your terminology. But continuing with this page, they talk about the large volume of gas emissions. Here they're now showing the trade winds and Kona wind directions, wind patterns of how they affect distribution of VOG and tephra as well. Links to where you can get more activity. And here, what I'm trying to get to at the very bottom is this one. They actually have, I'm going to zoom it out a little bit so it looks a little better on the screen here. They actually have impacts below this wind map. Impacts of recent episodes. Episode 4, Pele's hair fell all around the volcano area. In some areas, tangled under tumbleweed-like structures up to 2 feet long or so. Episode 15, Tephra Fall and Uikahuna Overlook, golf course. The camera is damaged. Episode 16, Tephra up to an inch on Highway 11, between my markers 32 and 33. Golf course, minor brush fire in an area northwest of the vents on a crater rim in a closed area of the national park. I'm not sure if you've heard about this brush fire before, but there it is, actually noted back in March. Episode 23 in May, Pele's hair in Pahala. So these first 3, no wind, light winds, with 2 especially very high fountains. And moving on, we have trade winds with high fountains, Pele's hair in Pahala. Westerly winds with high fountains, Pele hair reported in Captain Cook and Miloli'i and on Highway 11. And recently, episode 31, Pele's hair reported in Pahala under trade wind conditions and low fountains.
Captain Cook, that's a long ways away, right?
Yeah, so with westerly winds, it has to be blowing across the volcano and rising into the upper level winds and then coming back across somehow.
Yeah.
Something funky's got to be going on there, right? Or it's coming around. I'm not sure what its path is to get there.
Right, because it's not going to wrap around Kau. It's going to go up and over, and then come down, right?
Yeah, it could also be that some of it, like even though we've talked about how some of the fountains aren't very tall. The gas clouds can be very tall. The gas clouds could carry the Pele's hair up, like maybe above that lower layer, and then from there start drifting over and.
That makes sense. Yeah,
that's another idea that could come into play here. So yeah, and then that's the bottom of this page, and so yeah, well, most time we spent on this timeline page, but as you can see, it's being developed out as the eruption goes on. So it was worth pointing out some of that stuff in case you need to find it more easily. So we showed you guys this INSAR image here, and so we do have a one new INSAR image from this past week. Released on the 7th, 4 days ago, and spanning the 6 days back to the 1st. And what it's showing is a center of deformation right in here. And if you look at the direction of this, we're going blue, pink, red. So blue to pink to red is away from the radar. This is the ground moving away from the satellite as the volcano deflates at the same time as lava is erupting. So this captures episode 32, and it captures a big exhale mostly. And we haven't recovered as much as we lost during this 6-day period. So mostly it's loss, and it's centered in this area right here in the middle under the eastern part of the Hale Mau collapse. in the center of the main caldera area itself. So for comparison, our previous snapshot was showing inflation in that same area. And then one prior to that, that captured episode 31, showed deflation from that same area again. So here's episode 31 deflation and episode 32 deflation. A little bit different color scheme. What really matters is not what colors are which, but like how tight they are together is more important than what the colors actually are. So seeing them tighter together there, is just showing similar deformation and range of both there. So that's what we see from the satellite coming to our on the ground monitoring signals. Let's start with the last week time frame. And so we have a little bit of noise in our laser rangefinder. We can't really see much on that, so we'll skip that one here. For our tilt, it's come up from -5 to about 4, so 9 microradians or so, more or less, in the last week, which is significant. But it's a little bit slower than we've had in some previous weeks. So that's leading to this slightly extended pause predicted and expected by the USGS. Our earthquake counts, our average background is 30 per day. Our range isn't very big here, so we have a little bit of variation, but not a lot. We see on a red line the moment, this big spike, but that's just showing us basically one earthquake, magnitude 3-ish. There it is. It's that deep one under Puna. And so in the shallow areas, you don't see much activity that's variable over the last week or really that significant. But when we zoom out to the last month, you can see a little bit more clearly that there's been this slightly sustained increase that we're seeing here. So a little bit more density of dots on the map here around the summit, a little bit more density of dots here on the south flank than we've seen in many recent weeks. So continuing here for the last month, so zooming out from the week to the month point of view, that laser rangefinder saw lava flows make the ground closer to the laser a couple of times there over the last month, episode 31 and 32. And since then, it's just showing the slow subsidence of the land as it's kind of settles, as it loses gas as it's cooling there. And also contracts in volume a little bit too there. So that allows it to drop in elevation slightly until the next flow comes across that particular point of measurement. And looking at summit and tilt and east rift tilt, summit in blue and east rift in green. The summit showing the slow recovery since 32, the during 32 deflationary signal there, and nothing at all that corresponds to any of that on the rift zone, showing a real disconnect of the two signals here, which is great for everyone living in the rift zone and further down as well. On this plot, the green is a component that's looking to the northwest, whereas the blue is looking to the southwest. And so the direction southwest, northeast. So the northeast towards Halemaumau component is showing more of this buildup, but also picks up the other direction there. So slightly different plots that look similar here, just in case there's any confusion on that. Earthquakes counts for the last month per day. Our background of 30 is a variation up and down. It's normal. You can see maybe that range there is stepped up slightly and is a little bit higher here, right? And when we look in more detail, looking at depth versus time for the last month, to make sure we're not counting these big Pahala events and confusing them with the shallow events, what you can see is that in a shallow field, there are more earthquakes. There's more of these red and orange and yellow dots in the last week than the previous week and the week before that and the week before that as well. So it is stepping up a little bit. It was actually slow before, below background rates, and so now we're back to that average, but it has picked up a little bit here since that episode ended on the 2nd, right there. And so magma is still in a move down in there. It seems to be pressurizing and rumbling a little bit more than we've seen in some other pauses. And we'll have to wait and see if that comes to mean anything different. But for now, it's rumbling, and USGS expects it to rumble for about the same time again, right? Another 9 days possibly from now.
Are you going to tell us what would be different? You just leave it
Well,
on the edge there.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if I could have an X-ray vision into there, I would love to know that as well, right? But I can share this. I mean, what I imagine is like that ground is all fractured, there's all these loose rocks in there, and it's kind of all under some pressure of the magma that's bulging, right? But it's kind of like a balloon that can kind of wear out more or can inflate more easily in some areas than others, right? Maybe it's thinner in one part than another, right? So some areas it can kind of swell more, and those are the ones that pressurize. But that area can move around, and maybe you can find another little crack, and wants to move into another crack, and maybe that crack is a dead end most of the time. So it doesn't change much, but potentially that could actually lead to another little fissure at the surface if it's happening somewhere where it can find some path upwards, like we saw during episode 30. Or there's a lot of stuff that's on the table, but it's all everything in the realm of eruption, of eruptions, and fissures, and what does magma do when it's building pressure underground, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting that it's doing that, considering that it still has that hole to come out the top, right? So there's like something that's there's like a disconnect. There's different zones down in there. Like a deeper zone that's rumbling, and then a shallower zone that's pressurizing, and it's connected in some mysterious way that's really hard to describe, honestly. Yeah.
Well, now do we have 3 holes they could come out of now? We have north, south, and intermediate.
Yeah, and really there's more than we're calling it intermediate one hole, but really it's a whole cluster of them also, right? And they're also changing over time. It's a whole bunch of cracks all through there. So that whole zone is just one big event almost. And then like the south wall is a little bit different. That was on episode 30 because it had to actually go up the wall. That's a little bit different. So more of that kind of thing, right, could be in play as well, right?
Interesting.
If you recall our summit eruptions before this one, we had a lot of them happen near the crater floor, and then we had the one in September 2023 cut across a downdrop block on the east side, right through the middle of it, like kind of right above the magma storage area that we're seeing inflate and deflate with every satellite image right now. So that kind of thing is not out of the question that we can have like it could open up over there on that side. Why not? There's lots of old cracks from 2018 and loose blocks there also. Just a matter of like which way is it filling and how can things move, and does it fill one side versus that affect how the other one goes, and it's way too complex to talk about without doing this hand waving stuff that I'm doing here, so that's how it is. So yeah, those are the earthquakes for the last month, and how that pattern is a little bit more here, and we'll keep an eye on that. It's just kind of back to background like we said, so it's not like it's extreme or anything yet, but we're trying to read some tea leaves. We've talked about the tilt, how it's a little bit deeper and not a whole lot, right? We might have had maybe 10% more than the last episode here, but still recovering and a little slower. We've had some of these slower rates other times as well, like in here. But you can see this was much steeper there than we're seeing here. It's hard to really tell, maybe if you're not looking at it, drawing lines on it there, but right, especially here at this far right end, it's kind of turning over a little bit and getting a little bit shallower. So that's what they're talking about on their update, the decrease in tilt. So moving on, let me keep moving past the tilt here. We saw the lava depth and talked about that as well. Scroll through that here as well. Earthquake counts still low overall per week. If anything, this bump is about that size of what we're seeing here compared to the rest. That's not a whole lot, right? Very, very minor, slight changes. And here's our GPS at the summit. And so we've been doing this exercise before of how far is it actually stretching and collapsing. So the last episode, it stretched from, let's call that 1 centimeter over here up to 9. So about 9 centimeters or 8 centimeters there. 8 centimeters. What does that say if I type it in here? 8 centimeters is 3.15 inches. It stretched out, and then when it collapsed from that about 0.9 to, call it negative 0.2, about 11 centimeters. So 11 centimeters is 4 1/3 inches. So that's stretching 3 or 4 inches, like an accordion, back and forth there as the magma is filling it up and then releasing through the fountaining. And in the rift zone, nothing at all. We're seeing a slow decrease over time. The scale is extra zoomed in here, but it still is long-term contraction between these data points. So that's all good. And long-term, ever since we've had this eruption in 2024, December 2024 till now, we've had this decrease in earthquakes because we've had this open vent episodic fountaining. Was beforehand we would have individual eruptions, and then we have to rebuild seismicity and have an eruption, and rebuild seismicity and have an eruption, and that's how it went before. Now we're in a different kind of equilibrium, we'll say. And you can see that also in the GPS, where we have even this expansion back and forth is oscillating across a slower extension of the crater than we're seeing for much of the past 5 years. So moving on from that to the earthquakes before we take our midpoint break here. Earthquakes over the last week here is what we have in here. Let me get this zoomed back to a good size. And we have our earthquakes plotted by depth once again. So the reds are shallow and the blues and purples are deeper. So what you see here is similar to what we saw in the other map, but slightly filtered with bigger events. The blues are the deep Pahala events. Here's our 3.6 that we had under Puna. There's also one under the center of the island over here. Zoom it back out. We have some other settling events around 2.6. There's a 2.2, a deep 2.3, 1.9, 1. That's about a 2 right there as well. And then beyond that, we have the actual volcanoes adjusting. And we have, of those, a Maunaloa up here, when you can see a little bit of the summit activity, as well as some movement on the northeast flank near the recent eruption site from 2022, and on the flank itself here towards Kīlauea, which you also see. Let's zoom in even more. Kīlauea, the summit activity, and then the flank activity. So all that we saw. Maybe the only thing we haven't seen as much is just catching up on this Maunaloa flank activity. That seems to be a little bit more common nowadays, really in comparison to the quiet of the previous 2 years. Before we're seeing a lot of this as well, and it built up to the eruption of 2022. And in that era, we saw that as Kīlauea and Maunaloa both inflate and push on each other, that's when these things can really start activating more. So the fact that we're seeing more of them now, we know that Kīlauea is more swollen. We've been documenting that for the last 8 months. And we've been slowly documenting Maunaloa being more swollen as well. And so we've just reached some point now where they're showing some interaction with some earthquakes in between. Right? That's how I would interpret and try to discuss that. So that's the distribution of them by depth and region there. If we just look at the pure size, the biggest one was the 3.6. This one that is showing is under 4 miles southeast of Leilani, but it really isn't. It's 24 miles down, so it's at least 24 miles from Leilani. Just you got to think about it. It's got nothing to do with Leilani. It's more deep down than it is underneath anything. You know, it's kind of as far underneath Hilo as it is underneath Leilani, pretty close, right? Other than that, there's only one other magnitude 3. That's this one on the south flank, right over here, about 4 miles down. That happened yesterday. And everything else is pretty small and not really worth getting into. So since I just mentioned Maunaloa and what's happening with Maunaloa, it's I should have click this on recent earthquakes, but there are the recent earthquakes, and now I'll click Maunaloa. And just recap once again, normal green for Maunaloa. If we look at our monitoring signals for the last week, we see mostly these daily oscillations and a little bit of this hint of slow inflation happening there. Depth versus time earthquakes, it's hardly anything on there to show any pattern whatsoever, so keep going to zoom out to the month-long view. And there are also seasonal variations that occur on here. Like it could be some signal like this is the background, but looks like on top of that, you might have this slow rising tilt as well. Perhaps it's hard to really untangle it there. But it seems like there might be a signal there, perhaps. that is consistent with the inflation of Maunaloa, filling of its magma chamber slowly over time. Not enough to cause lots of earthquakes. Here's the earthquake rate still very low per day. And for the last month over time, still no patterns like we saw in Kīlauea, for example, right? And per week, lots of variability still. And if we do see some occasionally higher rates like we're seeing here, they're not sustained. Right? That's something you can say as well. So depth versus time. Occasionally do see a few more clusters of earthquakes. And that could be related to this step up in activity and earthquakes on Kīlauea as well. If Kīlauea is pressurized enough to earthquake at its base, then maybe we're seeing that here under Maunaloa as well. Overall, though, nothing compared to the buildup to 2022, which you see here in the earthquake rates per month, and in this depth time plot as well. So we'll wrap up this first segment here with just one last view into Maunaloa, looking quiet before the clouds rolled in earlier today. So, all right. I'll pass it to you, Dane, Lou, and we'll welcome Dane in here. Let's see who's popped in.
He's back there. Oh, there he is. I'm here. Just got back.
How are you doing today, Dane? We just went through monitoring signals, and we're going to do observations after our break here.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah. Doing good. Just plenty busy this week. Couldn't even make our own stream on time.
All right, Lou, pass it to you.
Yeah, let's pull this off of here. All right. Dane, you sticking around for Community Corner?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, because we have an alert. We have a new alert. So we were talking about VOG earlier on how that's one of the most important hazards that we have here. But we have one going on up the park. We're going to talk about. I drop it every week, but this week it's really important. So let's take a look on what's going on up there. We do have the Highway 11 hole drilling and power pole replacement going on. That's normal. This project has been happening for several weeks now. You're going to see traffic stopped out on the highway. So nothing big there. Just take it slow. This is the big one that's popped up here. It's that time of year when stinging yellow jacket wasps are prevalent throughout the park. Maybe I can talk tonight. There's an aggressive nest near Lua Manu Crater off Chain of Crater roads. And what's important about this is that if you get stung, these are the type of wasps that release a pheromone to attract other wasps. So if you get stung, get out of the area. Just leave. Just avoid it. Get to Ranger Station up at KMC or go to the Volcano Center. If you're allergic, you should definitely take precautions on that. I'll leave that up there. Don't disturb the wasp nest. Look at this is from the national park. It says don't get stung. That is the best advice you could give right there. Don't swat or aggravate them, and the staff may be able to get rid of them, but just stay clear. Here is a shot from Ashley Ferraro Photography of the last eruption episode 33, and there's a nice shot from Cody Yamaguchi of the whole crowd up there just admiring with the rainbow in there. I thought that was a good shot to put in there. We're going to have more images coming up in some video later, but couldn't resist throwing those up there. All kinds of viewing areas. You can't go wrong around the park. Roundabout is ready for visitors. Continue to follow speed limit and drive with caution during your visit. I hope you're enjoying the roundabout. And if you have been up there when the traffic has backed out to the highway, this is helping. Definitely. And not just entering the park, but leaving the park as well. The KMC, the Kīlauea Military Camp, is located up there all the way through the park on the right-hand side. Look for the flag. You can park behind HVO, the new building that's being built, or you can drive around, past the building, make a right, and they actually have some outdoor toilets. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but they actually walled it all in to prevent the wind from, I think, blowing them over. So a little more reinforcement for the Porta-Johns up there. There's a shot of where the Welcome Center is at the Kīlauea Military Camp, all the way through the park. Can't miss it. And bring your own water. especially if you bring pets up there that are on a leash. Visitors to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park need to bring their own drinking water for their park adventures. The water station at Kīlauea Visitor Center is unavailable during renovation closure. A bottle filling station will be reinstalled at Wake Kahuna once it reopens in the months ahead. Water is available for purchase at Volcano House if somebody is there to sell it. I recommend just bringing your own bottle. Bring a couple extra because you will get thirsty out there. You're at 4,000 feet and you don't think that you're going to need water, but because it's cooler up there, but you are a little closer to the sun and you are going to be hiking. So pack your water with you. Park.
Hold on.
Huh?
Let's go back to that picture here. And give me your AI analysis on this. What's going on with this picture here?
What? You finally noticed it?
Yeah,
I've been running this dog AI thing for the last couple weeks, and you're just now picking up on it. This is actually my 3 dogs right here. That's my boxer, my husky, and my Catahoula right there. Now, I thought Recraft did a pretty good job there. Dane?
All right.
Yeah, very, very realistic. The dog holding the bottle like that, like it has thumbs. I like it.
So you're telling me your dog doesn't drink from a straw?
Right. Not trained right, I guess.
Just more hours of training. Come on. These Puna dogs are pretty smart. That Catahoula I have, she is born and raised here in Puna.
All right.
I'm glad you guys finally picked up on the AI shot there.
Oh, I've seen it. I just didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to interrupt you more today too. So there we go.
Oh, good. All right, park safely and secure your valuables. We've had some incidences up there of people breaking into vehicles, especially if you're in a rental car. Just don't have anything visible. Put it in the trunk of your vehicle if you have to, or just pack it with you. Just be careful. They're not so nice people sometimes walking around. Here's our closures. These areas are still closed. They've been closed for several weeks now. And I put the number down there, 808-985-6011 if you want to call them and see if anything's open, or just I would recommend it's easier just to drive in and talk to one of the rangers at the Welcome Center. The western switchbacks at Kīlauea Iki Trail are still closed for repairs, but they're open. They're open to hikers all other times. They're going to be finished up here in looks like about 2 weeks. We'll see if they can wrap this up. The Maunaloa Road is closed. Maunaloa Road, past Helena and Helena Poly are closed to vehicles, elevated fire danger. We are getting a lot of rain, but that doesn't mean they just lift things instantly. Pedestrians and non-motorized bicycles are allowed on both roads. Campgrounds remain open, but campfires and open flame cooking fires are prohibited at the campground and day use area. Propane and gas cooking stoves are allowed. So if you have a backcountry permit, you're doing some hiking up there, get a hold of them and they will give you a ride, which is nice because both of those are long walks. There's a shot of the Helena Poly area. It's always a nice one to get to. I don't know if you need if you get a backcountry permit, if they'll give you a ride out there to that or not. I don't know. Maybe you have to ride your bike. Life on the Edge is the only program up in the park, in the main park, going on right now. It's going on every day, several times a day, but I will have some new information coming out probably next week. The Kahuku unit is running some stuff down there, some hikes. If you haven't been down to the Kahuku unit, we'll talk about that in upcoming broadcasts. They have some events going on. The Holofest is happening Saturday, September 20th. Celebrate Holofest, a gathering of community, tradition, and education with weaving, planting, cultural sharing, and conversation to protect Hawaii's natural and cultural heritage. Pohakupelemaka.org is the way to get some more information on that. And you can sign up for our newsletter or our volcano eruption notification. You might want that if you're not on our list, because we do send out an email when an eruption episode happens. We're looking at 33 next week. It'll be tight whether we're broadcasting that night or not, right? What did we say, Phil? It was the 23rd.
We'll see. If it's the 19th, that would be Friday next week. We'll see if it actually holds off that long. Yeah.
Yeah, that's on the front end of the forecast, right?
Yeah, so we'll see.
we don't hit that one big pothole in the tilt like we've seen in the last couple.
Yeah.
And since
And
Dane is here, oh, go ahead, Phil.
Well, so it might be on the 20th when we have the Halafest happening, right?
Oh yeah.
And then we also have on the 20th happening. So yeah, those are our good friends, Kīlauea down in Puna. We encourage you guys all to go to Maku'u there. But yeah,
Dane,
and
you
then
got
we
that.
also have the Kona Preparedness Fair happening on the 20th as well. And so we will actually be in Kona ourselves, which we're not often there. So if you're one of our Kona viewers, you can come check us out. That's Saturday the 20th at the Kona Prep Fair.
You guys taking pictures with everybody?
At the prep fair?
$5.
$5. Comes with an autograph. Comes with an autograph. All right, Dane, I'll let you have this one since you're here.
All right, I can do my bit at least. All right, so we'd like to thank all of our supporters out there, but we'd also like to thank the 5i grant programs with County of Hawaii for helping fund this program, as well as their support for our other programs, our youth development and digital resilience programs. So appreciate that. We also appreciate all the donations. You can see now that we are running a donation drive on YouTube that will be for the foreseeable future. And we also take super chat or take donations over on hveri.org/donate. See that there. I did want to shout out. We had a $20 donation from Robin, a $50 from Skyjet Ed, and I believe that might be it on the donation side for now. Appreciate all the support there, guys. And yeah,
thank you much.
We rely on viewers like you, the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, all that stuff really does help drive the algorithm. So I know everybody says it, but it helps us out. So if you are so inclined, and I think that gets us through all the thank yous.
That's it.
All right.
All right. Let's head into our next segment, Phil.
All right.
And there it is.
Kona Fair Flyer. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the gym off Old Airport Road.
Right.
Find us posted on our other platforms as well.
Hey, before you move into that, Phil, I wanted to know, Dane and I did not attend this year's flower drop, and I see Gina in the chat said there was no flower drop Saturday due to a helicopter was fighting.
Fighting the fire. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing the ICS class, and there's a bunch of fire captains and fire chiefs, and we've been hearing a lot of the details about that particular fire and it's been taking up a lot of resources. So sucks, but not entirely surprising.
What did they do with the flowers? Did they tell you? Oh, they did a hand drop. Gina's saying. Interesting. Right on.
Well, awesome.
It's good.
That's how we get information. If we don't have it, it's the crowdsource it. So mahalo, Gina. That's how we just showing that ask the audience.
Yep.
Power of ask the audience right there. All right. So should we get into our back half here, which is going to be our observations segment with some bonus material?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to dip off, though.
I'm going
to be in the background. I'll be in the background.
Yeah, if you need to jump in later, feel free.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So we'll start off here with a quick live look into our USGS cameras. This is the V3 camera looking in live. You can see the active degassing from this whole north-south intermediate vent complex, the whole area here. Trade winds blowing right to left here. V2 camera, back from the volcano house, a little further afield, a little hazier to see, and it's a little bit drizzly and rainy in some areas through here, so there could be some rain clouds mixing in with that as well. And the V1, let's get this going live here. You can see some degassing, a little bit less gas coming from the north vent itself. You can see a little bit of a fume column right there, but a lot of the really whitish, dense gases coming from this back vent complex, actually. So that's all interesting. As far as what we've seen in the last week, here's a loop of the last week of the thermal camera, and you just see the flashes of it getting warm from the daytime and cold at night, and that's basically it. Nothing else changes. It's so boring I won't even play it for you again. But the visible view of that, the KW camera, you can see here, this is just a daytime, one picture from noon each day for the last week since the last episode ended. So at a glance, you see not a lot of change in the grand scheme. If I start zooming into it, you can maybe notice a few other things. There's a little bit of slumping happening in the area where you have all this fallout material. So kind of through here, you can see it really easily, this part of things slumping. If you look closely down on here, you can see these cracks moving and opening a little bit. On this side as well, you can see that tephra pile seems to wiggle and slump down a little bit. And a little bit in between here as well in the channel, but it's not as easy to see as some of these other spots right there. If I pan across, most of this channel stays fairly intact, but further afield over here, where the lava had ponded, you do see this large scale sagging of where the pond was. We've seen this week after week with each flow, where the flow was the thickest, ponded the thickest. So see it there. And otherwise, not a whole lot of movement here in the front of this camera. If I pan to the far side of the crater, you can maybe get the hint of some subsidence happening over here as well. But to see that, we're better off going to the other camera, the B1 camera, which is on this side, looking back in our direction here. So let's do that. There is the B1 camera looking back across, same exercise, one daytime photograph for each of the last days of the week. And zooming into the vent area there. Can't see the changes as easily from here, but you can see areas where there is some sagging, like in there, like through here. And if you notice, this is the extent of the most recent flow. Some of the areas that were not covered in lava are not showing that subsidence, right, during this last week. But coming closer to the camera here, you see that this entire sheet of lava that's covering all the front is all sagging down. Just a very rim of it where it's up against the crater wall is not moving, but everything in from that seems to move. So it's almost like one of these bathtub scum rings that you see in some of these other craters, which is a high point, then it ends up being higher than the rest of the crater floor, if this were to be the last one, which we know is not likely here. But looking across, there is that sagging of this whole flow on the eastern side over the last week or so. And finally, we can look at is the nighttime glow. This is the V3 camera nighttime views only. The first few nights, we see a little bit of glow still from where lava was still cooling around the vents. We see a little bit of looks like lit up plume at night from some bright moons perhaps, but it doesn't seem like that glow is coming from the ground. And really that's between fume coming out and darkness and whatever other weather. This is what you see at night now, which is not much of anything. Still too deep under there. So those are our current views. We do have a set of images released by the USGS of fieldwork after episode 32 content, which is pretty interesting here. So let me get this bigger to images can be full screen. So there's a view, a similar view as we're used to seeing of this vent complex fuming, and we're not used to seeing as much as these big brown wings in there with how much tephra fall. It's piling up so high that it's almost like above the water line, the lava line, right? That's what's flowing out through here. So pretty cool there. This is really fascinating. Here's the edge of the crater with the gas coming up in the background there. And here you see is a sampling bucket. It's one of these orange Home Depot buckets. So sometimes collecting tephra is difficult, as the collection buckets may not be ideally situated. It might be damaged by large hot bombs. In this case, the bucket worked perfectly and provided a nearly full sample. Right, so there you go. They put it on the ground. It filled up, not quite overflowing, but just to the rim, just enough. Everything fell in there since they last emptied it out less than a week ago. So pretty cool. And they have a lot of sample in there, right? And they know that it's unlikely that wind was blowing stuff in here from the side since it's still above the side. That's the other key part of it there. Well, here's where they're driving in. They're over the track of the old Crater Rim Drive. You can't see the road so much here anymore. Putting
just
backpack
thinking on
down
that.
on a tephra, not
Oh,
advised.
yeah, not a good idea. But I was just thinking about that bucket. I'm like, much more tephra. They're gonna go out there and be like, so where'd we put that bucket again?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
it wasn't far off, was it?
Wasn't far off. Like that is a good amount they got.
Yeah, you might need some markers from time to time. We'll see another picture that actually has something that's a little bit more of a indicator of where it is. But okay, let's come past this. So behind the photographer here, the road's over 20 yards deep of this tephra. So looking at the vent complex, here's one of these webcams in the front here. And this is something where you can really see the height of this big pile of material. This is what I'm calling this almost like a new lava shield or lava cone here inside. It's really quite a big pile of stuff, and it slopes off. So you always see these rapids coming off the side. We'll see that in our examination of photographs here. They note here much of the rubbly material in the central part comes from spatter-fed flows, which form as hot spatter from the fountains piles up around the vents and then coalesces to form a very viscous type of secondary flow. So it's more of this degassed, oozy spatter flow. Here's a section of the road that's not as deeply covered. You can still see some of it, but you can see the material is falling all over the place there. And there's a wider view of the vehicle coming across what used to be that crater rim drive. So here's another one. Here's this geologist walking down that big pile that's now 20 yards tall back over there. And here's another sampling bucket. And this one they put next to this wooden pole. And you might think, why is this wooden pole in the middle here? So it used to actually be a road sign. Used to be a signpost for the road, and that's the top of it from before. And the bucket's sitting there near the top of this. So the bottom of the sign, where a car would have driven, you see probably been a full yard or meter below this, showing you how much it's really piled up everywhere across this whole area, right? And this is not even worse, the thickest right over there. Good luck finding your bucket underneath that, right? Or anything.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
Couldn't find your car or your bus or anything underneath that. So yeah, those are most of our photographs. We do have these releases. The slider is on here as well as some images here. So we have image of time lapse of episode 32 we'll get to in a minute here, and then time lapses from the B1 camera of the vent area growing and of the wider crater itself. So let's kind of go backwards. Let's show you the wider crater here. And so this is not the actual USGS image, but I've redone the back end of it to have it in a slightly higher resolution here at the back. But you can see the whole crater floor filling there from early days and how much it's come across the crater floor and filled in this whole brown area on the side, completely filled in. And there was a lot of brown area all through here. We should have all this area of discoloration in the middle of the craters. All of it's been covered. Even after it reforms, it gets covered again. And marching up the side. Yeah, so lots of cool areas here. Let's zoom in on some areas so you guys can check this out. So it's the very corner of the downdrop block there. Here's the cinder cones that were part of the fissure of September 2023 that cut across this downdrop block. They were first surrounded by lava. A couple of them then got picked up and were rising before further flows just came too fast and drowned them around the side. Let's come here to this area where we used to have the B2 camera used to be down in here, right? And lava came too close and melted the enclosure. They saved whatever they could and moved it to create the V3 camera from that. Kind of a little bit of reminiscing here over the last 8.5 months of what's happened over all this time. And here back in its back corner, we see the vent area growing from that flat floor to this big ramp that now reaches all the way up to the crater rim and actually even piles up on a crater rim to change the profile of the western side of the crater as well. So that's the wide view, and there was also this release of the zoomed into the vent view. So let me play you guys that. More zoomed in. Really quite fascinating, and shows you how much higher this western quadrant is than the rest of the crater floor. And then I believe I think that's it for this chronology on here. Yeah. So now we'll come to episode 32's time lapse, and now we'll switch to showing this recap of what happened in 32. So this is the S2 camera. You see the north vent picks up first. It starts fountaining. We're still at 7:30 in the morning. About 10 o'clock, we're going to see the burst out from intermediate and south vents all through here. And watch for it. Here it comes. You see these flows come out. Just a trickle from this southernmost vent to start. It picks up a little later. We do see some variations, almost like there's some pulses or surges that come through here, where you see a little bit more lava leaking out and turns these channels a little bit redder. Let me see when one of these bust out. Yeah, see there's another little extra lava dribbling out right there. As these intermediate and southern fountains gain in height, the north vent fountain decreases in height and becomes a little bit more upright. It's still inclined a little bit, but it's not quite this arc as it was before. And then it all shuts off here by the end. So pretty fascinating there. Now, I also wanted to point out here, and pull this back across here to where these vents open. And let's slow this down as much as it'll let me here. All right, there's a vent there, there's a fissure there, there's a fissure there, there's a fissure there. And these stay active. Still bubbling over there. And so we have quite a lot of cracking happening when the pressure is too high to overcome the north vent and squeezes off here to the side, activates the south vent, intermediate vents, possibly some new vents, some new cracks. It seems like there's a lot of stuff coming out through that entire area all through there. So let me pull it back one more time. Maybe let me make it a little faster. Let's go back to normal speed. I'll pull it back to here. Let me zoom it into right in there. You can see the bubbling coming from all these different spots, especially right in through here, where later it gets drowned by the rivers of lava that overwhelm this area. So that reminds us of how it looked from the webcam. But we're going to do a little different today that we don't always have time to do, is we're going to look at some of the submissions to Tracker and some of our other community submissions. We'll look here. Maybe rewind this. There's one other part of this video which is interesting. When the wind changes and blows back towards the camera, you start seeing black flecks on the screen. That's these pieces of tephra flying by. See if I can catch one of these like that. Pieces of tephra that are flying by the screen, so you see those as well, and something we're going to see captured by the public as well. All right, so I think I'll go first. We're going to give Lou a turn as well here after this, but starting off, we're going to go to Hawaii Tracker, and we'll try to kind of recap how this went over time, right? So actually the night before, this is another example of this power of crowdsourcing. The night before, watching the glow, people were showing the lava pond rising within the crater. So we're looking at September 1st, 7 p.m. You can see 6 a.m. in a second. Oh, look, it's coming up. There's a cool waterfall coming up. And we actually have one not long afterwards showing, look, the episode's actually starting. You can see a little bit of the fountains becoming continuous and sustained. And all that happening in real time on Tracker and the community to show their power of crowdsourcing there. So early on, we started getting a lot of these videos that are showing the tephra vortices. So let me make this full screen for you guys to see. You see that funnel right there? And all this dust of the tephra that's become solid. It's still very hot, but it's flying around and getting picked up. Look at the bigger chunks flying through there as well. Pretty impressive. Well, this one, a similar video over here from Elka Edwards. We'll keep moving through these. Here's one from Ichi Tanaka. Tornadoes from a V3 camera, 2x speed from around 6:45 in the morning, happening repeatedly. So remember 2x speed now, but look at that one right there, and you can see all these bits of tephra, these black specks flying around in there. Pretty incredible there. Let's see if I can rewind this and zoom into that part of the screen for those of you who are looking at very small screens, perhaps. You can really get a good view of that.
Hey, Phil, was there a wind speed on that?
I didn't hear a wind speed, no.
I didn't either.
Remember, this one is at 2x speed playback as well.
Right.
Faster than real speed. And there's another one. This one from Don Cherney, we'll say. Apologies, Don, if I got it wrong, but once again, yeah, look, it's picking up chunks of the lava, spinning them upwards even. You know how dark that looks up in there. So I think 32 is most unique thus far from these really abundant tephra vortexes, vortices that were, especially in this early phase of the eruption when it was just a north vent before the fountain decreased in height because it was spread out across more vents. And there, a video from Kelly Veras. Similar time, you can see a different angle of that kind of vortex of tephra right there off to the side of the fountain. Impressive on that one. And I had to put in Yvonne. Yvonne joined us last night as a volunteer, but she's now in her new chapter as a UH student. Couldn't help going up to National Park before class to see the eruption. Here's her video, which is at a similar time. You can likewise see this vortex of tephra spinning around and rising right there, and that's off to the side of the fountain. Pretty incredible. And another one here from Kelly Veras. Just picking out the ones that were the most popular here on Tracker. Lots of reach and views. Everyone finding their own little spot, and spots that this has happened often enough. Everyone's got their own little spot they like to go back to, right, Lou? You've got different places.
Once you
get spot better.
Yeah, once you get comfortable in your spot and you know the rocks that are there, you can get in there at dark and you're okay moving around. Yeah, we all have our spots,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, pretty cool. Nice to see that shared. I'm switching around the backside of the crater from Devastation Trail, also from Kelly. So if you're wondering what it looks like from the public overlook, there is a public overlook itself and in the background there. You can see by the time she's around on this side, we have active the intermediate and south vents over here.
It's that Keoneke Koi. Looks like.
Yeah. So the Devastation Trail parking lot, hike to Keoneke Koi overlook, and looking from that new overlook over there to the south. That's right. So yeah, there we go. If anyone's curious what's the perspective from there during one of these inclined fountains, lava rainbow, lava arc, there you see it with your own eyes. Incredible, and really good views from this angle of this. Looks like a trickle flow from the south vent. Look, it's actually a gigantic flow that just looks small on a camera because it's next to this ridiculously sized lava fountain. Everything gets a little distorted in the edges of the camera there as well, right? So pretty good to see the different views and different perspective there. And on that side, quite often. Here's from Lehulu Harris. Quite often you see Nene flying. There's Nene flying just ahead of that fountain. So pretty common to see them on the Kankakoi side over there, especially in the early mornings. And looks like she caught them on camera. So awesome. Another one, Kay Dixon here, watching a live stream. Notice a new fissure on the left side of the photograph. And we just kind of covered that. But in case you were not watching it live, you could also have caught that information on Tracker, just to show you guys how much information is coming across all the time. And there you go. Nice screen capture documenting that. And then we start getting towards dark. Kīlauea changes to her autumn gown here from George Randall. A nice slow-mo there in the fountain. And I'll keep going here. And some pictures that people posted after the fact here of their entire photo journey. Not so much live, but after the fact here. So the day after, or a couple of days after, their best images, their favorite images. These ones from Ashley Ferraro. Oh, Ashley, this last one I really like because you really see all the black stuff. Yeah, it's flying around there. Oh, Tephra in the air. Yeah, pretty incredible. Yeah, another one of those. Oh, mahalo, Ashley. Jurassic images from Jennifer Johnson. Jennifer, I guess.
There you go. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. And let's go through a few of those there. Like them a little more artsy, yeah. Almost like a painting. Got something buzzing there, Lou, huh? I'm being summoned.
I am. There we go. Everybody's looking for me. It's that time of night, I guess.
Josh Whitcomb, we're almost done here. At least my side. I'll pass that to you soon, and you can go through your. Ready?
It's interesting that images. It's interesting seeing the images that you poke. For those of you guys that don't know, Phil and I, we went out today, and we both went out without talking to each other and grabbing images. So we don't know what each other were pulling. So it's interesting for me to see what you're looking at compared to what I have. So it'll be good.
Yeah, so I try to just go to Tracker and I try to look at what was the most popular stuff. Really, and that's kind of just to share with you guys that. And yeah, I'm curious to see too. Yeah, so nice capture this one. Look, there's one of these vortices again right there in the middle, capturing all that with the intermediate and south events active and flowing also. So nice view from the side here of that perspective too. A couple more. Thomas Tucker.
You're killing me.
Video. You got this one too?
I got that one. I couldn't resist it. I say this all the time. Everybody loves the fountains, but I'm a sucker for the floor. I love to see what's happening on the floor.
Right, and we don't see it as often, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'll pause it there. If you're going to show more of it, then I'll let you play more on your turn. And I'll follow. You know, this one, this is not on Tracker, but this is from Cody Yamaguchi that I had to throw in here. So yeah, mahalo, Cody. Fantastic lava islands in the middle of a raging lava river. Right there. So all right, Lou.
That's what you got. It's good. Those are all really good. I mean, I looked at all those too. I actually pulled a couple of them myself. We'll see as we go through here. Because they're just, I'm sure you and I are looking at them the same way. One was Ashley's with the Tephra, and where it's like, well, that's just a great shot. Just shows everything we want. So let's drop mine up here. So I'm gonna start us off with Josh's shot of this. I thought this was a spectacular shot. The helicopter flying over, doors off. The only way I like to fly in a helicopter, and just a great shot by Josh Whitcomb. Says, USGS volcano scientists and team flying over the lava during episode 32. Pretty cool for them to see it close up this way makes for a great picture as well. Outstanding picture. I mean, everything going off all at once. Thanks, Josh. I see Josh up on the hill every once in a while. This is from one of our big time contributors, a friend of mine as well, Lance Page. He was up there, got this, and of course there's the floor shot that I like. Maunaloa in the background. This must have been early morning.
Like the tree in there too.
Yeah,
always
of
like when there's
course.
some trees.
Right down here on the bottom.
If you can get a
Yeah.
green one, even better, but that's even harder to do nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great photographer. This is from Lily Kimball, another floor shot. She was up there with Lance. Thought this was great. I don't know. I feel like we don't see enough floor images anymore. All we see are all the spectacular fountains. I was on the hunt for those today.
Yeah, well done.
Here's from Kelly. You showed the video that Kelly had, but I pulled this one and she had one more that shows the people up on the cliff there looking down. I thought this was a great shot. You know, just real life up there. People, I mean, you do stand up there. Even us that have seen dozens of eruptions for hundreds of hours, there are moments where we just stand there, step away from the camera, and just are in awe of what's going on. I know that look. I've stood like that many times.
Yeah, that's what to remember. Like, don't go any closer than the edge of the net, because if you get in the zone, you might forget and you want to be stepping off.
Don't move.
That's might be even a little too close right there.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Park ranger potentially.
Yeah, and they don't have any of that blocked off. It's all wide open, and if it's dark, you don't know where your feet are stepping. If you're not running a nice bright light, there are cracks everywhere up there. Pukas, there are holes everywhere. You got to watch your step.
Even little bushes and just little rocks that you can just trip on and lose your balance on. You know, I mean,
it wasn't that long ago. Well, we just had somebody go down over near Waldron's during this eruption, right? And then 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we had somebody go off the cliff as well. So it's dangerous. Here's one of Yvonne's shots. I like this one. I saw you put up one of Yvonne's images as well. I like this one. This goes into the Pele's hair we were talking about earlier. That plume that's up, 20,000 feet, and how the Pele's hair travels to Captain Cook and Mili'i. There it is. Great shot by Yvonne. Another shot that I like, the camera, the USGS cam that's up Mauna Loa looking down, is one of my favorite webcams to give that entire plume view. I do enjoy that. A shot from Josh. I think you showed this one or one of these right here. Volcano dust.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
It's an amazing shot. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. And Josh does a great job. I know Josh as well. Great photographer. Knows how to capture the moment with the right lights. You see the river of lava over here just flowing. Like you said, when you're over there at Keanakekoi, it looks like a trickle, but it's not. That's a lot of lava moving. Here's another from Ashley. I like this one. You showed some of Ashley's. I got some in here as well. Shot through the bushes, a little more artistic. Ashley has all kinds of images like this. She does a great job on those. She says, what is it about changing focal points between shrubbery and lava that's so appealing? She says she really loves the contrast between the dark tones of the bushes and the light and the bright, crisp lava. I agree. And then you got all that tephra all up and through here, just flowing and just windy waves of tephra.
That reminds me of like the pictures you see from like the 60s where someone was hiking out through the woods and they took a picture of like some lava through the jungle. That's all they had.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in digital photographs. They didn't know what they had until they had to go back and develop it. And it was a little blurry and a little bit out of focus. And it was not quite horizontal. You know, like it reminds me like of that kind of style. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. The days where we had to wait a week or two, unless we were developing film at home, to know what we even had.
Yeah. And lava was always so difficult, right? You drop off your film and you just kind of cross your fingers.
I hope for the best. Here's that Nene shot. You had this, I think, as well. I love the Nene up there in the morning. You always catch them flying across. You hear them first for the first 30, 40 seconds coming your way, and they're always doing a lava buzz for you. Here's that another shot. You showed one of Jennifia's Johnson's, but this one here I particularly like because it shows the crowd down along the viewing area here.
Mm-hmm.
Another shot, just one of our viewers, Gina here, was telling us about our flower drop. Gina Janice, who's another one of our viewers, and myself have an interesting story. The three of us were all in the air during the start of episode 32, and we were all on different aircraft, and who was going to land and actually make it. Both the ladies made it up to the eruption happening before it ended, which was nice. I didn't go, I came home, but it was fun listening to them because we were all online chatting during the episode while we're all flying, and everybody's just watching and hoping they make it. Oh, it's 2 more hours of the flight. Okay, we're landing in Kona. We got 2.5 hours to get over there, and the clock is ticking because we all know that these episodes are about 12 hours.
It's funny, right? Like, I mean, there's times where you want to buy the Wi-Fi on a plane because you need to watch like the big game. Yeah. I bet all you guys are buying a Wi-Fi just so you can watch the webcam.
Yep.
And the data coming in, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Refresh the tilt.
Yeah. I'm sure that the airline's Wi-Fi was burning data on those flights because we weren't the only ones on my flight. We weren't the other ones. Other people would walk by my seat, see what I was looking at, ask about it, and they were all watching it. So it was spread out all over my aircraft, and I'm sure on theirs as well. There's another shot from Gina shooting through the bushes. It's a nice shot. And Janice, here's Lava Hunter. That's Janice. She got hers as well. There's both these ladies making a dash. These are frequent visitors over here. Janice actually has a place here. And Gina caught the last 2 episodes, I believe. And this is her 3rd, and I think Janice has caught, 2 as well. This might have been her 3rd also. I'm not sure. So it was good that they made it. There's another floor shot that Janice took right there. So thank you, Janice and Gina, for those. There's another Nene shot right there. And let's see here. Okay, I've got some video coming. Let's see if this works. There we go. This is from Ashley.
Yeah, incredible.
Mm-hmm. That did have audio on it, but I didn't leave the audio. Let's see if I can get to the next image here. I'm not going to be able to do this. It's got me stuck. There we go. This is it's a TT photography. This is off a tracker. Another floor shot that I really liked. And a lot of the other past episodes, eruptions that we've been up there filming, we always have a camera on the main part of the episode going on, the eruption happening, whether it was 2023 or any of the others. But we always had another camera or 2 on the floor just looking for things going on. So I really do love this. This is from Bo Jack K off our Hawaii tracker. It's a nice shot of the overflow going on.
Can you zoom that in?
Nope. Not here. All right, it's pretty small, isn't it?
That's all right.
Nope. I'm limited on this one. There we go. This is the one you had too from
right
Timothy Photography. I saw this and I was loving this.
Play the second half of it. I saw the first half already. Pretty cool to see those slabs breaking apart.
Mm-hmm.
Raft along there.
And the distance that this is shot at, those are huge slabs down there. He's just got a good lens,
Yeah.
and color looks pretty amazing.
It's just at the right probably sunset moment.
Yep,
Sunset
absolutely.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so flows are punning pretty thick, which is how they can
Mhm.
then be sagging for a while afterwards, or when the next flow comes over them, they can squeeze up from the inside of the previous
Right.
crust because it's just so much down in there.
It's from Justin Hiroko. I think you showed this one as well, right?
I'm not sure. I can't
From
quite see
Justin
it.
Hiroko. It's a great shot. Just a lot of lava moving here. And Epic Lava always has some amazing stuff up there.
Yeah, look at those rapids flowing
Yeah,
in.
and in here, I don't have it up on the screen, but it says something about never know when a spider's going to hit you. That's when he saw the lens drop. I guess maybe something landed on him while he was shooting. Right there. Because he's usually pretty stable. Now, that was the other thing I wanted to say about Timothy's lava shots. They were handheld. Those weren't on a tripod. Let's see if this was it here.
Yeah,
These are handheld.
Wiggle,
yeah, that's pretty impressive to be able to zoom that far out and keep it together.
Yeah.
We're all
tripod's difficult with that much zoom.
Yeah.
You know, any little wind, anything bumps it. Yeah, you'll.
Yep. Oh, here's a helicopter flyover from Kelly. This was a cool one. This is my last one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's gonna turn here. Make a loop around and head back for a couple more shots.
I think it's about time for some new glasses. This stuff all looks like super hard to see on there.
It's right in there, right there.
There it is, yeah.
And gone. I think that was
awesome.
it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Maybe I have one more. Nope, that was it. That was my last shot. So thank you everybody who puts images up on our tracker site. Some of these were from Two Pineapples Discord. So thank you all for contributing and keep it going. If you're up there and you have a cell phone, a professional camera, it doesn't make a difference. Just take some pictures and put them on our websites, our social media sites, because we love seeing it.
And I think it's a super important practice to get into. I mean, what we're really building here is our community network, right? This is how we can share information. This is really showing how we're crowdsourcing everything that happened during this eruption, you know, through everyone's contributions here, right? So something actually happens where it threatens people in some kind of community, then we're going to rely, just like 2018, we'll rely on everyone contributing as well, right? That's what this is really all about, is practicing, educating ourselves, preparing ourselves for what might come that actually tests us as a community. Dan, you want to add your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. You know, all that's just building towards that crowdsourcing. You know, in Hawaii Tracker on Facebook is our primary network for that. It's amazing how much it's grown since this whole episodic eruptions began. But a lot of people over there sharing information, sharing videos, multiple posts of, you know, tracking the progress up until the eruption started, and then lots of images came in. So really cool.
All right, so I'm not sure if we have any questions necessarily.
We got one in there. I saw.
I saw there was one comment that I highlighted and I
There you
threw in
go,
here
yep.
from Two Feathers, right? This might be like
Yep.
when we were asking what might it mean to see all these deep earthquakes and all that stuff. So this is a good thought to share. Two Feathers says, I think it's fracturing a structure, expands more, contracts more. The substrate or cap is weakening through fatigue and probably will crack at some point. So that's a different way of saying similar thing to what I was trying to say. All the different blocks that are all in there kind of stacked and getting wiggled around with every expansion and contraction, and how lava could possibly find new pathways and come out somewhere else, right? Similar to what we saw in September 2023. So yeah, maybe that helps hear someone else's take and thought on it. And yeah, anything else you want to highlight in there? I'm not sure I saw anything else here. All right, so yeah, it's probably a good place to wrap it. So appreciate you guys. All you guys are watching here. We still got a bunch of people here. As we're over an hour 45 in here. We'll be back next week at a regular time, 5 p.m. Hawaiian time, to recap whatever happens between now and then. It sounds like we're not expecting another episode before then, so we'll see what changes as far as the ramp up towards it, and we'll go from there.
It's gonna be close.
Yeah, if something really different happens, like it erupts somewhere else, or does something really not in this pattern, then we might break in ahead of our regular schedule and inform what's happening and share what needs to be done about it, or if we can rest easy or that kind of thing as well. All right, so all right, guys.
Right on. Good job.
Yeah, from our nonprofit HVERI, the Hawaiian Volcano Education Resilient Institute, for Dane DuPont, Lou Ettore, I'm geologist Philip Long. Until next week, aloha, everybody.